Jordan with the Young Turks, TYT Politics. Hope you're having a lovely Tuesday and happy August. The year is flying by, so hope you're having a nice summer, and I hope things are well. The Democratic Socialists of America. Don't hear a lot about them in the media. I try to cover as many things as I can outside of the two-party system, but the Democratic Socialists of America are having themselves a great summer. So share this video if you're interested in the Democratic Socialists of America or being outside the two-party system. So as you know, Bernie Sanders identifies as a Democratic Socialist. Socialism has become a nasty, nasty word in politics and corporate media. They make it seem like the boogeyman. They make the socialists seem like hippies that live on a commune. Well, the Democratic Socialists of America have a response. We're coming for you, baby. We're coming for you. An email was sent out with the last hour that the Democratic Socialists of America have reached 25,000 members. That's 25,000 members, making them the largest socialist organization in the U.S. since the Second World War. So let me tell you about their growth, first of all, because it's incredible growth, and you're not going to hear about it on CNN or any of these other places. So a year ago at this time, the Democratic Socialists of America had around 8,000 members. So they've gone from 8,000 members to 25,000 members, essentially in a year. So, by the way, they rose from 8,000 to 25,000 predominantly in the time frame after Bernie Sanders left the presidential race. So it's not like their membership only skyrocketed while Bernie was running. It has skyrocketed since, through a lot of organizing, a lot of events, a lot of, everything that you could think of through grassroots organizing. I'm seeing it myself because in the New York area where I live, there's a Democratic Socialists of America presence, and they have everything from committee meetings to grassroots activities to, door knocking. So let me just read you their press release so you have the specifics from them. The Democratic Socialists of America today announced that it has grown to more than 25,000 card-carrying members. Share this video. Let's get it out there. Organized in 177 local groups across 46 states and D.C., the DSA is now the largest socialist organization in the U.S. since the Second World War. The announcement comes just days before the organization is slated to host the largest gathering of Democratic Socialists in a half-century as its fully booked national convention scheduled for August 3rd through the 6th in Chicago, Illinois. My colleague, Nomiki Konst, will be there for the Young Turks. She'll be covering it. You will be able to watch her and the conference on TYT Politics right here on Facebook and YouTube. Again, that conference is from August 3rd to the 6th in Chicago. For more information, you could go to dsaconvention.org. That's dsaconvention.org. And again, Nomiki Konst will be covering it for the Young Turks. A quote: "Since the election, tens of thousands of Democratic Socialists have come together to build a future for this country in which everyone has the right to a decent job, a good home, a free college education for their children, and health care for their family," said National Director Maria Svart. DSA has seen explosive growth, up from around 8,000 members this time last year, following Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign and since the election of President Donald Trump. Quote, "This nation faces a stark decision, socialism or barbarism." I fucking love that. Socialism or barbarism. "We know that Wall Street Democrats will not save us from another 4 years of Trump and his billionaire-funded Republican cronies. That is why more and more people are joining us as we fight to protect our political democracy and expand democracy into the economic realm," continued Svart. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to this that I want to get to while I bring up another story that I think will complement this about while the Democratic Socialists are exploding, the Democratic Party is still doing the same old, same old. So let me get you this story. 1 second. So a few things. Number one, obviously, this is not going to be mentioned in corporate media because it is beneficial to the corporate outlets, CNN, the New York Times, all that, to essentially keep the two-party duopoly. They don't want the Green Party to rise. They don't want the Socialists to rise, because that means their parent companies and themselves, gravy train, will end. You cannot keep getting endless tax breaks for your parent companies, whether it's NBC, Comcast owns NBC, Time Warner, which owns CNN, Amazon. Jeff Bezos was just announced as the richest man in the country. He owns the Washington Post, and on we go. All these outlets are owned by large multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, which, by the way, I write about in chapter 2 of my book, corporateconjob.com. That's corporateconjob.com, all about how the corporate media welfare complex delivered President Trump. So there hasn't been a lot of talk other than social media and among activists and progressives about the Democratic Socialists of America. And what the Democratic Socialists of America is doing so well, and I see it every day, they're not bothering trying to get like huge mainstream media coverage, because what's the point? Even if they get on CNN and these other places, they're only going to be hit with the talking points. Well, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for free college? How are you going to pay for Medicare for all? How are you going to pay for it? Notice that these questions are never asked to the neocons on television or in print that preach for more war spending and more bombs. How are you going to pay for that? Oh no, doesn't matter. Endless war, welfare for war, totally fine. So they've been doing a lot in terms of social media, a lot in terms of grassroots activism on the ground. And they have obviously seized the moment that Bernie Sanders created, that socialism is not a dirty word. Socialism is simply what we used to do pretty much under a man named FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And by the way, as I always tell my Republican father who watches Fox News, love you, Dad, even though he's misinformed, I love him, and other Republicans and Democratic establishment folk, we already live in a socialist country. You know who the socialism is for? The rich. What do you think tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations is? Who do you think pays for that? You think it magically appears? No. I pay for it. You pay for it. The poor pay for it. Who do you think pays for this endless war? That's redistribution coming from us upwards to the big war machine. Who's paying the subsidies for big oil, for big pharma, for deregulation? Who's paying for all that? Us. Medicare, socialist. Social Security, socialist. The list goes on. Medicaid, socialist. The VA, socialist. What the corporate media and the Democratic establishment and the Republicans have been expert at doing is making mainstream Democratic Party policies from the 1930s all the way through the end of the 1960s sound radical or pie in the sky or unrealistic or it can't happen here. Well, the Democratic Socialists of America, who you just heard is doing great things, they're here to tell you it can happen, and they're here to tell you it will happen. And by the way, I have reached out, and I'm going to try and get an interview with a spokesperson from the DSA today. I just wanted to go live to report the news to you, but I'm going to try to get an interview with somebody from the DSA so you have that exposure and you can hear directly from them. So stay tuned for that. But I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. You know, I've always said I have no allegiance to the Democratic Party. To me, if I'm being honest, I think in the short term for 2018, the best way to actually get some W's on the board was a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party through progressive candidates getting these establishment people out. But if DSA builds up like they are now, I am all for running Democratic Socialist candidates all over this country and them winning. So to me, whatever's going to work, whatever is going to put W's on the board. So, the conference coming up, I don't know how long they've known about these numbers, if they decided just to announce it before the conference, but they are literally sold out at this conference in Chicago, August 3rd through August 3rd through the 6th at the University of Illinois in Chicago. They say we anticipate this to be DSA's largest convention ever. And judging by the People's Summit, which frankly had a lot of socialists there, it probably will be. So this kind of stuff is great. This kind of stuff shows that, you know what? Everything looks kind of shitty right now. You got President Trump the chaos going on in that administration. They're firing people left and right. He's inflicting a lot of damage on our economy, on inequality, on the environment. You have the Democratic establishment, which I'm about to tell you has not learned a damn thing. But we don't need to sit in despair and be hopeless because things are not what we want them to be now. Martin Luther King did not do that. Great leaders in the women's rights movement have not done that. LGBT people, whether Harvey Milk or others, did not do that. You cannot sit still. You have to keep pushing. And I will do my best amongst the many things I cover to continue covering the DSA. And again, if you're coming to this late, Nomiki Konst will be going and covering the conference in Chicago for the Young Turks, August 3rd through the 6th. So I want to give you a perfect contrast so you understand while the young and the progressive old and socialists in America are rising and doing the right thing, pushing for universal health care, pushing for free public college tuition, pushing for an end to the privatized prisons, pushing for all the things Bernie Sanders spoke for and more. Here's what the Democratic Party is doing. Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader, this is from the Washington Post. Nancy Pelosi's fundraising breaks $25 million for 2017. So we've only had 7 full months in 2016. She's already raised $25 million. And I could guarantee you, Nancy Pelosi hasn't raised that $25 million from a majority small dollar donors or socialists. I'll read you some of the article here. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi has raised nearly $26 million for her party in 2017, a significant leap for a non-election year, according to fundraising figures furnished by the California Democrats' political team. Most of Pelosi's $25.9 million haul was directed towards the coffers of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which will be leading the party's quest to take back the House in 2018. Pelosi has sent the group $24.7 million this year, as opposed to $14 million she raised for the DCCC in the same period 2 years ago, in the last congressional off year. So what that means is Nancy Pelosi, after Hillary Clinton's epic failure and loss, Nancy Pelosi has gone back to her sugar daddies and mamas, the banks, big oil, big pharma, Silicon Valley, all of those usual suspects who have donated to the Clintons over the years, who've donated to Nancy, who donate to Chuck Schumer, who donate to Kirsten Gillibrand, who donate to all of the establishment Democrats. Because she didn't make $25 million from small dollar donations, I can tell you that much. Pelosi's efforts have come as she has faced mounting criticism from a handful of her fellow Democrats who criticized the party's inability to gain more than a handful of seats in last year's House elections. A drumbeat that returned after Democrats didn't win a closely watched and heavily contested special election in Georgia last month. In the immediate aftermath, Pelosi pointed to her prodigious fundraising as one reason for her continued service as a top Democrat leader in the House. Her political operation counts $593.8 million in fundraising attributable to Pelosi since she entered the House. Listen to this statement again, how unbelievably unself-aware these Democrats are. In the immediate aftermath, Pelosi pointed to her prodigious fundraising as one reason for her continued service as the top Democratic leader. So the Democratic Party and Nancy Pelosi feel the reason that people should want a leader, the reason that Nancy Pelosi should stay in leadership, and by the way, I'm not going to knock her entirely. She was the first female House Speaker, and she has done some good things, so I got to be fair. But she's basically saying to her colleagues, I should stay in office because I bring in the money. Did you not just see that Hillary Clinton outspent a fucking circus animal 2-1 and got her clock cleaned in the Electoral College? Did you not just see that you pretty much outspent, I don't know if they outspent, but were on par. The DNC put millions into Georgia, into John Ossoff, a neoliberal centrist vanilla candidate, and he lost. Did you not just see that Rob Quist in Montana, who the DNC barely helped, they came in the last minute with money for him. He only lost by 6 points in Montana, which Trump had won that district by 25 points. I'm not saying as a political party you don't need to raise money. But if your continued philosophy is the leadership of the Democratic Party should be based on who brings in the biggest fundraising haul, and you're bringing in that fundraising haul from special interests that don't care about you or I, then I don't want you. I don't want you. It's not enough to say, yeah, we're corrupt, but we're not fascists like Donald Trump. Those days are over. Those days are over. The American citizens are not content with just voting against fascism. They want to vote for progressivism. They want to vote for socialism. And by the way, I covered probably between all the candidates last year, I'd say between 75 and 100 events. Many of them were Donald Trump rallies and events. I cannot tell you, probably at least 100 people I interviewed, when I asked them, hey, if not Donald Trump, who would you vote for? I'm expecting Ted Cruz or Ben Carson or one of these other people, Bernie Sanders. So even conservatives, when the right candidate comes along who is pushing common sense and humanity, even conservatives are very interested in what the Democratic Socialists and progressives are selling. 46% in a recent poll, 46% of Republicans want Medicare for all. University, free public college tuition, polling incredibly well. No more wars, polling incredibly well. But they can't understand where the movement is. And most importantly, they don't want to understand. They don't want to understand, folks. So, this is great news. Again, you can check out TYT Politics on Facebook. Nomiki will be live from the DSA conference in Chicago, so great timing. I have some videos up on youtube.com/TYT Politics where I update you on the latest in the now an investigation has been called, looking into Debbie Wasserman-Schultz and her ethics or lack of ethics when it comes to her IT staffer, Imran Awan. We also have a video Emma did yesterday talking about the breaking news, which everybody's been salivating over, that Trump fired his communications director after 5 minutes on the job. I think Emma had an interesting take on that. And we have some other videos, so I hope you'll go check that out. I also hope, if you don't know, let me show it to you, because I don't know if many of you are aware that I actually have my own public Facebook page where I update you on stories, where I update you on all sorts of things. So I'm going to flip the camera around. I love it. If you don't like it yet, go like it. So that's my public Facebook page. My book cover is at the top. A picture of me and Cenk together are on the left. Just type in Jordan Sheridan. You'll see two profiles. One is my personal. One is my public fan page, and I'd love it if you like my public page because I'm doing more stuff at my public page, but I don't think most people know it exists. So please go like that page. Obviously, you can follow me on Twitter at Jordan Sheridan, and as always, I'm currently working on chapter 3 of my book. It is on covering the Clinton campaign. The headline is "The Soft Bigotry of Hillary's Expectations." And it's all about how Hillary Clinton, her campaign, and the neoliberal Hillbots that followed her totally were living in an alternative universe. One that data didn't matter, polls didn't matter, and common sense didn't matter. So be on the lookout for that. But if you haven't read it yet, the introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2, all online at corporateconjob.com. There's a donate button if you choose. Thank you for watching.